This latest pullback in the crypto space has got you spooked. I don't blame you, but I don't think you should worry too much just yet. So far, it does look a little too deep to be a fourth wave in most of our cryptos, a lot of our altcoins. However, we don't see any immediate downside setup at the moment. If we were going to have that lower low, I would expect to see more of a spike down and more supports broken. We are not seeing that as of yet. And as a matter of fact, we are actually in the green in several cryptos. You can actually see it on my screen at the moment. We also had a pretty good comeback day for the stock market space in equities, as well as other asset classes. So this is Bitcoin. I'm going to be going over mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum. However, we will be touching on several different altcoins as we go. This is the 1 hour linear chart. And unlike most of the altcoins, we actually had our lowest low in January 24th. Other cryptos had a lower low back here on February 24th. So one could argue that this is the actual first wave and that's the actual second wave, and that we are progressing in more of a diagonal kind of a pattern. And that's believable because we actually hit past the 1.0 extension for our wave 3. So this is kind of what it would look like if we interpreted that way. Those are your 1 and your 2, and this would be your 3. And if that is the 3, that could mean we have a lot more downside ahead to complete that fourth wave. But we have some signs that we don't have too much further to go. We actually almost see a bit of a divergence here where you have your two bottoms here, and we didn't stretch as low on the MACD, the MACD in Bitcoin. Now, it's not the same case in other cryptos, but in Bitcoin, this does look like a conventional C wave, zigzag fourth wave pattern. And therefore, I think we're pretty close to done. The more primary outlook is that this is the actual first wave, and this is the second wave, and then that's the third wave based on that. It's actually gone more than high enough to be a third wave. As a matter of fact, we've gone so high, this is actually in fifth wave territory, but there's no clear fourth wave present here. So the next best assumption would be that this is the actual fourth wave, and that we have one more leg up to go before we have a longer, possibly deeper correction. The same applies in Ethereum. This I've been referring to repeatedly in my other crypto videos because I spend more time analyzing Ethereum than anything else. I think, I don't know, I think just the numbers, the dollar values just tattooed into my brain. So it just makes it easier for me to refer to it. But you see the same kind of thing here. This could be the first wave, second wave. And like in Bitcoin, we have gone high enough for this to be a diagonal third wave. So the third wave of a larger diagonal pattern. Although my primary was that this is the actual first wave. I know it's a bit cluttered, so I'm going to stretch this a little bit out. Does that be your first wave? We've gone more than high enough for this to be possibly, well, this is a third wave. So it didn't stretch as high here. So that looks more like a standard third wave. And our support, because we didn't quite make it the 1.618, our support sits at about the 0.764 extension. So that'd be about $3,000. That is what we're looking at the bottom of this peach box, where we haven't gotten that close. So it is possible that we have a lower low without invalidating anything. So as long as we stay above this, the bottom of this box, this is still a valid rally. The only concern is that would be an overlap of the first wave here. So it would lend credibility to that perception that this could be a diagonal rally. I don't know if that's going to happen. If we do have that lower low, I would expect to see more of an MACD divergence. We are curling back up. So that's definitely a good sign that the bottom may be in. I'd say Bitcoin Cash has the cleanest rally structure so far. And when I say cleanest, not necessarily the most bullish, but this definitely looks very much like a diagonal. I drew a channel trend line in my last update. And well, our fourth wave is just ticking right along. As a matter of fact, with this latest pullback, if I translate that channel trend line down a bit through the bottom of the second wave, we've peaked a little bit below where we should go based on the structure, the fact that it's probably a diagonal. So we'll have to hold our breath a little bit, but I expect this thing to turn around. Here too, you don't see a divergence. So we needed to get this thing turned around pretty quick to preserve the upside setup. If we have more extreme downside action, that could be an early indicator that we may have lower to go. We may get that lower low after all, but we have to see more of a support, more of supports broken. Ideally, we'd break maybe just below 260 in Bitcoin Cash and then have a nice bounce for a downside setup. If that happens, I would definitely put out the alert that might want to hold off on buying or even exit part of your position if that is the case, because we may have quite some downside coming if that's the case. Here's Ethereum Classic. Story is similar. You have a clear third wave up here, and the third here is also quite overextended, and the MACD a little better, but not, you still don't see that divergence you like to see. However, in Ethereum Classic, it does look like we might already have 5 up. If I put on the 5-minute view, that could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be a good sign, at least in Ethereum Classic. And if we look at some of the other coins, Litecoin looks just like Bitcoin Cash, very deep pullback. Like to see this thing turn around relatively soon. Doge went parabolic before it started pulling back, but Doge actually looks more legitimately like 5 up. Our third wave actually hit the 1.32 extension, and our fifth wave hyperextended. It's not a bad thing. That definitely could be interpreted as 5 waves up. So it does seem to cut the mustard. Dash, our faithful and dependable Dash, has pulled back pretty strongly as well. This definitely looks more like a diagonal setup. You could argue we have 5 up here. I don't think that's the case. So we need to see this turn around relatively quick, and we've had a pretty good turnaround, at least the start of a good turnaround so far. Polkadot, we haven't cut back as deep, but this definitely looks more like a diagonal than anything else. Chainlink, deep pullback just like Bitcoin Cash. Solana, pretty deep pullback as well. And you got your Stellar Lumens, similar story, deep pullback. And EOS, also pretty deep pullback. Polygon, haven't done an update on this one in a while, but this is looking more precarious than any of the other cryptos at the moment. This could easily be ABC up. We've had a really deep pullback, so I'm not liking what I'm seeing in Polygon specifically. And SHIB hasn't really had much of an upside rally so far. So that's what we're looking at on the small picture. When we shift the big picture log chart, you can clearly see this breakout that we've had. We had the potential for a 4th wave triangle, for one more 5th wave down, a 5th wave of the larger C wave. We didn't get that. We broke that triangle, so that's good. However, we are pulling back, and this often is what it looks like before you have a rally startup. Sometimes you have a bunch of nested 1-2, 1-2s that materialize, and this could be what we are seeing in Bitcoin specifically. When I shift over to Ethereum, the story is similar. This actually looks a bit more impressive in Ethereum. We clearly broke the crap out of that triangle, so this triangle is dead. Again, this would be a descending triangle if you're using traditional technical analysis, but in Elliott waves, that would generally be a 4th wave triangle. Broke through that, broke to the upside, and things are looking a little bit more dependable, a little bit more reliable here in Ethereum. And you can see the MACD has stretched out to the upside quite a bit. So that would be indicative of a typical 3rd wave top. If we have that higher high for a 5th wave, possibly going past 37, 3800, we'd expect to see a bit of a divergence here in our MACD. So that would be a good sign to see that. Bitcoin Cash, not as impressive with the rally. Went over this yesterday, obviously, and then Ethereum Classic has rallied better than pretty much anything else. Giant ABC pattern. And I did clarify the other day that because we are expecting more of a diagonal kind of rally, that your subwaves may take the form of 3-wave zigzags up. So that would not be shocking at all. I'm going to go and skip over to Dash real quick, see how that looks there. Same kind of thing. We have a lot of upside overhead before we can get in that box. Polkadot's a bit closer to its ideal targets in that blue box. So it might get to its ideal target with just one higher high, just with that 5th wave up that we're looking for. When look here, that is going to fall somewhere between $26, $27. And that's exactly what that box would have us targeting. This is Chainlink. Ooh, looks like we just fell off a cliff there, but again, nothing particularly scary yet, but this does look eerily like an ABC up. So keep that in mind, that those red patterns you see in pretty much all these cryptos, they're not going to be removed anytime soon, and that there's a reason for that. You know, we need to see that 5 up appropriately, and you can see the same story. They all look like 3 waves up. I looked at Solana briefly. This is Stellar Lumens, clearly 3 up, deeper than ideal 4th wave. So we need to see a sharp reversal very quickly. EOS, we didn't go as deep, so we haven't lost the plot just yet, but it's getting a little antsy there. Polygon, we went over that. It's not looking as bullish as some of the other cryptos. So we're going to have to see a bit more of an impulsive setup. And finally, SHIB. SHIB hasn't really done much, but so that's good. We haven't seen much downside, but we also haven't seen much upside ever since we hit our low on January 24th. This seems to be more aligned with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So is this a big 1-2? Is this a fake out? Do we have more to go? If there is more downside, it sure isn't looking like we have any downside coming yet. You could argue that in SHIB, we might have a 1st wave down, and this is a 2nd wave bounce. That would be kind of scary if you ask me. I'm going to actually take a closer look at that one more time in Doge. And right there, this might be a little too close up, but you can see how we had our nice rally there. That was on January 14th. very deep pullback. We've rallied back up, and now our latest pullback could be interpreted as an impulse. So let me look at this a bit more closely, see what we glean from this thing. Could be a 1, 2, maybe a 3, 4. So if we have a slightly lower low, that would be a very scary sign. That could indicate that we have ourselves an impulse to the downside, at least in Doge. Now, if that happens here, I'd expect to see similar in the rest of the crypto space. So I don't think Doge would be alone, and it'd be much more obvious if we have a more ominous downside setting up. So that's where we stand right now. I don't see any reason to panic sell. Honestly, it's never a good time to panic sell. But if we have more of a downside setup, I'll definitely be putting out the alerts in the form of videos as well as community posts. So stay tuned for that. Also subscribe so that you don't miss any updates I have. I'll be doing more videos on the allocations and my risk reward score that I've come up with. I always encourage everyone to not just invest in 1 or 2 cryptos, unless it's just Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you're into altcoins, buy a bunch. You never know which one's going to outperform. So it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks ahead. We're going to see if this thing gives us more clarity as we go. If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.